food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad.
Get mad about it, folks. That's what you can do. I mean, aren't you tired of just taking it? Just letting these people run roughshod over us? Well, that light's pretty bright, ain't it? It'll be all right. But, folks, that's the only thing we can do is fight. That's not the only thing we can do. We can do what we've been doing for years and lay down and take it and play pretend that everything's okay and listen to Smiling Joel Osteen and all the rest of them spiral us into the gates of hell. But as for me and mine, we serve the Lord. I'm done coming into soft serve agreement with it by not protesting it. It's kind of right there. Let's see. That may be too loud for y'all. Let me step back a little bit away from it. But folks, this is a moment in time that we as believers can stand up and do something about it. Now, we've been doing a little bit of a deep dive into this Illuminati business. And this is something that I wanted to bring to you guys' attention. Now, I know you all know about the 27 Club. I just want to go over it because, I mean, this is some ooky spooky stuff. So in my notes here, the 27 Club is a term used to describe a group of famous artists, musicians, and actors who tragically died at the age of 27. The phenomenon has fascinated as well as saddened fans and scholars alike, as many individuals were at the peak of their creative powers, and their untimely deaths have led to speculation about the pressures and pitfalls of fame. Below is an expanded discussion of some of the most notable members, and as for me, folks, I'm going to tell you straight out. Every Mad Jack person you're about to hear, in my humble opinion, made the deal. They made the deal with Old Stitch. We're going to be talking about some talented, and I mean talented individuals who were cut down in their prime. Like this, it wasn't, you know, they were waning and their popularity was waning and all that kind of stuff. No, they were cut down in their prime. And it's a sad thing. Very, very sad thing. Some of these people, you know, that's a lot better. I don't look like the ghost of DDoS now. Some of these people and just to let you guys know, I grew up a musician. From the 6th grade on, I played the violin from the 6th to the 12th grade. Primarily played the violin, and from that, since it's the same chords, I taught myself how to play the banjo. And when I was 16, I started playing the drums, played for several bands in my hometown, filled in for a lot of guys. And for any of you musicians who play the drums, you know the drummer and the bass player are the meat and potatoes. You know, we're the bread or the lettuce for the salad. And I can tell you, even in a local band, playing with local guitarists, bass players, so on and so forth, there's a certain lifestyle and there's a certain spirit with it. When you're playing on stage with somebody, even when I was in orchestra, when I was playing the violin, I was the second chair consistently all through, from the time I started playing the violin until the time I laid it down. I was second chair in the harmony section. It was a lot of fun, but there's a spirit that comes along with it. Now, we're supposed to lift up our voices in praise to the Lord. There's nothing the matter with music. A lot of times, though, the Illuminati and these witches that come into agreement with them, they may not be members, but they're coming into agreement with their action, just like we come into agreement with our inaction. We'll listen to it. And folks, I'm not up here to denigrate or down anybody. Let me tell you something. Mastodon, Slayer, Demi Borgir, one of the most hateful bands of all time. Don Darrell was shot down in his youth. He was a grown man, but he was still young. He wasn't an old man. He was shot down on stage by a fan that was demon possessed to the gills. Pantera was the name of the band he played for. One of the most hateful bands you'll ever want to hear. Their lead singer was a neo-Nazi, straight up. But you'll find with the Devil's Violinist, I can do an entire show about him. The Devil's Violinist supposedly, and I believe it, sold his soul to the devil to be able to play music like nobody's ever played before. If I had his name right in front of me, I'd butcher it anyways. But look that guy up, the Devil's Violinist. Of course, Robert Johnson. He's somebody that I didn't put on my list when I was taking my notes because everybody knows who Robert Johnson is. And if you go back and you look at his, and folks, the story of Robert Johnson, he sucked eggs. You have some of the best guitarists of all time. Son House. There was a 3 or 4, a Book of White. That's B-U-K-K-A. I'm saying it right. Not Booker, but Book of White. They were all in this this joint playing on the Chitlin circuit, they called it back in the day. Before black folks got to play in big venues, they played on the Chitlin circuit. Chuck Berry even played on the Chitlin circuit. So he was playing on this Chitlin circuit. They were all at some famous place in, I want to say Texas, but I may be wrong in that. And Robert Johnson went up. They would all go up there and jam out. And Robert Johnson took his turn, and he was so bad. Son House, who's a gentleman, told him, "Hey, man, you got to get off the stage. You suck. Get off the stage." So Robert Johnson leaves the stage and allegedly goes to a town in Arkansas, to the crossroads, and waits for Old Stitch. Old Stitch shows up at this crossroads, takes his guitar, tunes it for him, plays, and gives it back to him. And when he came back to that same juke joint, Son House, who's arguably one of the greatest guitarists of all time, said that he was better than him. And this is over the course of months, not years, months. Now, part of me, just from going to wrestling school, part of me wants to say it was a gimmick. Part of me wants to say that old Robert Johnson pulled a flim-flam. You see, in wrestling, they teach us a strong gimmick is what counts. You have natural-born athletes. Like there was this wrestler named Bret Hart. Bret Hart was a natural-born athlete, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Then you have Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes was built like one of my uncles. I mean, he had a big old beer belly. He was the son of a plumber. That was his gimmick. And according to wrestling lore, if you're kayfabe, which means if you're on the inside, he was in the territories. And they needed a black guy. They needed a black face. A face is a good guy. And according to this legend, he said, "I'll be a black man." But he said something else. "I'll be a Negro." And he came out there with the son of a plumber man. And "What's up, baby?" And blah, 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 and talking that job and stuff. He had a gimmick that sold. But, I mean, he was a big old fatso. Bret Hart, world star athlete. I believe that Robert Johnson had a gimmick. Part of me believes this. I think that he went around all these great blues musicians back there when they were going on the Chitlin circuit and was just playing to annoy them, to draw attention to himself. Then he went and disappeared, and he had a proclivity to messing with men's wives. That's what got him killed. But he used this gimmick. He comes back and writes songs like Hellhound on My Heels and draws attention to the fact that he sold his soul to the devil. Now, I did believe that in my early years of being a musician. But, folks, I saw a picture that makes it 80-20. 80% being that he probably did sell his soul to the devil. I want to find that picture and show it to you. And you tell me what you see. And this is unaltered. This dude, 9 chances out of 10, he did the deal. Ooh, you can feel it just looking at it, folks. Let's see. No, I want the picture, dadgummit. Cooperate with me. I want that picture, see? Ah. All right, here we go, folks. Now, this is spooky. Let me bring this up for you so you can see exactly what it is I'm talking about. Now, you tell me what you see right here. Do you see a face where the fret of his guitar is? I remember seeing this years ago. I was a teenager. And I was like, oh shit. I see eye sockets, a thin nose, underneath that, a mouth. You can even see teeth. It's almost like you're looking at an x-ray of a demon. Thank you, Backroad. Backroad, I got your testimony, brother, and it's beautiful to me. I just want you to, I read it just right before I jumped on the stream, and I appreciate you sharing that with me. Backroad 41. While I'm in here, we have the great Seraphim 74, the lovely Annie's Vincent. Annie's Vincent. Creepy, right? Y'all do see that. Now, this is an untouched photo. Christine 1921 Murphy says, have to resubscribe every day to your site. Same with most other sites I follow on YouTube. Well, sister, you're probably following people that are telling the God's honest truth. I hear that a lot. People are getting unsubscribed. Their bells getting unclicked. It's a rough one. Y'all see, I go hard in the paint. So it's crazy that the organic growth that would come from that we're not experiencing. But I appreciate each and every last one of you guys sincerely, the ones who contribute, the ones who spend their time and come and hang out and listen and learn. I appreciate y'all sincerely. So drop a 1 in the chat, though, if you see that face. That's why, again, I used to think that it was just a gimmick that Robert Johnson had. But when you see this picture, and I mean, you can look, let's see if I can zoom in on it a little bit. You can look at this man's eyes. This dude's lost in the sauce, folks. I'm sorry. He's a rank devil. Let me read you a little bit about this man. So this is from the Magnolia Tribune. Robert Johnson, the man, the myth, the legend, and legacy. When you think of blues, you may think of Muddy Waters or B.B. King. When you think of rock and roll, you may think of Jimi Hendrix or the Rolling Stones. I personally think of Chuck Berry. No one could argue the greatness of these musicians or their genius, but many do not know or understand the impact of Robert Johnson and what the impact that he had on their music. Johnson lived a life of tragedy, mystery, and brief success before meeting an untimely end. All before he was 27 years old. Only through researchers, a few family members, and word of mouth has Johnson's story remained alive. Robert Johnson was born to a sharecropper family in Hazelhurst, Mississippi in 1911. He was born just one generation before the abolishment of slavery, but was still oppressed by the systems that locked poor black families into a cycle of backbreaking work for the slightest of wages. His father, Noah Johnson, moved his family to the Delta to escape a lynch mob. I wonder what his daddy did. You know what I'm saying? Because don't get it twisted. They weren't just lynching black folks because they were black. Not all the time. Sometimes. I'm not gonna throw that out there, but black folks committed crimes too, just like white folks did back then. And this guy didn't come. I mean, he sold his soul to the devil, folks. He may not have come from good stock. The desire to be more than just a field hand started early in life. When Robert Johnson was expected to be working in the fields, he was instead playing his guitar and singing songs that came from the bitterness of oppression. It is said that perhaps Robert was abused because of his lack of work ethic. Now check this out. This goes to, I'm telling you folks, I'm the world's greatest detective. I just have that mind of deductive reasoning. You heard me read, and you can read right there yourself. He had been playing guitar since he was a little kid. Why then, when he becomes a grown man and he's going around all these great blues guitars, he sucks so bad that they kick him out? Well, I think it's more 70-30 now. I'm starting to think that it was a little bit of a gimmick he had. Though it is not known exactly when Johnson started playing in juke joints, he did take a brief time to put the music aside when he met and married his wife, Virginia Travis, when she was 8 months pregnant. She returned to her family home to birth the baby. Johnson stayed behind to work, but as the birth grew closer, he decided to travel to his wife and child, playing at juke joints along the way for extra cash. When he arrived at the home of the Travis family, he learned that both his young bride and baby had died in childbirth and had already been buried. This devastation pushed him into music and drove his passion to be a big star. and his home away from home became bars and juke joints. Robert Johnson's life was one of tragedy, hardship, and rejection that ended with an untimely death at just 27 years old. Finding details of his short life and even shorter music career was mostly a word of mouth effort for years after he died. Johnson only had 29 songs that were recorded, and those weren't even widely released until an emergence of the blues in the late 1950s. There were only 2 known photos of Johnson and no video footage. His death certificate wasn't even discovered until 1967. Truly, Robert Johnson was a mystery that captivated researchers and music historians. Netflix released a documentary, remastered, Devil at the Crossroads, telling the tragic story of Johnson's life and his impact on the music industry, along with the help of his family, Stephen and Michael Johnson. In the documentary, greats like Keith Richards, Keb Mo, and Bonnie Raitt detail how Johnson's magical, before-its-time sound influenced their own musical journeys. Researchers in the documentary pondered how Johnson was able to pull off the sound of a whole band on an old 6-string that was rigged to be a 7-string. The fact that he was considered noisy at best before disappearing for a year and reemerging as the foundational father of the modern blues only added fuel to the mysterious fire that surrounded him. It's conflicting. First, they're saying his wife and child died, and he's making money in these juke joints. Who's going to be putting $1 in the guitar case for somebody who's just making noise? I'm back to 80-20. One day Johnson was gone. He disappeared for nearly 18 months before showing back up at the juke joint in Banks, Mississippi, where Son House and Willie Brown were playing. It wasn't Booker White, it was Willie Brown. Badasses, folks, badasses. I don't know if you're fans of blues. Bad mama jammas. You got to hear Son House play Keep Your Lamp Trimmed and Burning. This time, though, he didn't just pluck the guitar. He made it sing in ways that made other musicians question what he had done and at what price it had been done to get so good so quickly. And everybody knows the myth of the Crossroads. But when you look at his discography, if you want to call it that, if you look at his song list, Hellhounds on My Heels, Pay the Devil His Due, I mean, the dude, and the way he died. So y'all did see that. Let's see who dropped the 1. Only Keith Blunt and Annie's Vincent dropped the 1, but I'm pretty sure y'all all saw that demonic face, right? I mean, I think the cat probably did sell his soul to the devil, but it all seems like there's some flim-flam going on in the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? He's playing since he's a little kid to the point where he's getting his ass whooped because he's not out in the field working, yet he sucked when he went to these juke joints. Now, it could be that he could kind of play, and I don't know. I don't want to get. You're starting to get into the mind and how the gears grind for DDoS. I don't want to have one of these stream of consciousness things where I'm verbally trying to figure it out. But suffice it to say, I do think the man probably sold his soul to the devil. And when you listen to even the old, I know a little bit about sound mixing. So I took some of his songs and I kind of cleaned them up a little bit. And folks, they're not kidding. He was doing things with the guitar that nobody else was doing at that time. I mean, he was a savage with a capital S. That being said, the content of his music was either talking about sleeping with a man's wife or how the devil was about to get him. And that's how he met his tragic end. Every time he went to a juke joint, he would never drink out of a liquor bottle that was already open because he was afraid somebody had poisoned him because he slept with so many men's wives. So one night, it was one of his band members. He was tilting back a bottle. You know what I mean? The bartender came and set it down in front of him, and I think it was the drummer. The drummer slapped it out of his hand. And Robert Johnson got in a fight with the guy. He's like, "Don't you ever knock no liquor out of my hand? What's the matter with you?" He's like, "Hey, it was open, boss." He's like, "Damn you." I mean, I don't know what was said, but it's something along those lines. So he gets another bottle from the same bartender. Turns out he slept with the bartender's wife and got her pregnant, as legend has it. And that night he died throwing up vomiting blood, and it was poison. It was arsenic in the liquor. And the bartender allegedly admitted to it and said he was glad he was dead. And when I say this man was sleeping with people's wives, that was his gimmick. He was infamous for coming to town and sleeping with men's wives. I'm pretty sure he had a song talking about locking your wives away. And when that's your forte, you ain't long for this world, especially in the 1920s and 30s. Are you kidding me? They sent him, that bartender sent him the way of all flesh. And them hellhounds finally caught up with him. A lot of people consider him the first modern entry of the 27 Club. And that's why I wanted to look up the Devil's violinist, because honestly, I believe he was the first real member, because he was 27 years old when he died. And he was in his mid-20s when he allegedly sold his soul to the devil to be able to. And if you, hold on, I'll find it for you. Now I'll put a link down there. If you listen to it, the song that he allegedly was inspired to play, there were people, and I've read the independent publications. One was a journalist who was there who witnessed them playing it. A lot of them ran out of the room because they said they saw the devil reaching his arms behind this violinist and helping him play the song. I get chills thinking about it, folks. And being a violinist, I can tell you straight up, when you listen to this song, this guy had either played for 100 years, and I mean, I don't even know how to describe it. It's very, very difficult. It's a very, very difficult piece. I couldn't play it. And I played the violin for most of my life. I couldn't even begin it. I mean, straight up. So let's hit this list real fast. Jimi Hendrix, of course. It's sad how Jimi Hendrix died. You know, they said he was sobbing in his back seat, and he was begging his girlfriend, whose mama was some sort of a witch, begging her to take this curse off of him. You know, like he was acting weird the last few days of his life. And they said he was just in the back seat, just sobbing, crying, tears coming down. And his girlfriend was like, "What's your problem? What's going on with you?" He's like, please tell your mama to take this curse off me. Please tell her to take it off. And then the girlfriend didn't know what was going on, but the mama did. The mama said, "Only God can take that curse off you, boy." And he died before he can get it taken off. That's how that legend goes. Steve Garza, you seen that? You seen that spooky stuff? Isn't that ookie spooky, bro? I mean, that's ookie spooky. I'm the first hand up. That's ookie spooky stuff. When I believed it was all some sort of a gimmick, that I'm gonna go in here and play like a schmo in front of Son House until he kicks me out, and then I'm gonna go back to the cotton fields for a couple of months and come back and razzle dazzle their ass. Part of me believed that, but I really do think that, I mean, he probably sold his soul to the devil. I mean, just look at the way he died, and look at the way all these people died. Hendrix is often regarded as one of the greatest guitarists of all time. And he had one of the best bands of all time. The Jimi Hendrix Experience, they don't get a lot of credit. You go back and you listen to some of those Jimi Hendrix songs, a tribe of savages, folks. The bass player, the drummer was decades ahead of his time as well. And when I say savages, I'm not making a racist slur against Native Americans. We're getting a lot of new subscribers. I'm not trying to. I live in the native land of Oklahoma. I'm a friend of the Native Americans, so don't come at me with that racist stuff. Jimi Hendrix is often regarded as one of the greatest guitarists of all time. Born in Seattle, Washington, you'll notice a lot of these guys are from Seattle too. And a little nugget to stick in your back pocket: 9 out of 10 of these men and women, their father was in the military. 9 out of 10 of the people on this list, they had a father in the military. The only other one that didn't, his grandfather was in the military. I always thought that was very interesting. Jimi Hendrix is often regarded as one of the greatest guitarists of all time. Born in Seattle, Washington, Hendrix became an iconic figure in the rock music scene of the 1960s. His innovative style, which combined feedback, distortion, and an unprecedented level of technical skill, revolutionized the use of the electric guitar. Hendrix's most famous performances include his rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner at Woodstock in 1969, and hits like Purple Haze and Hey Joe. Hey Joe is one of my favorite songs of all time. And All Along the Watchtower, which was a Bob Dylan song. And that's what was cool about these artists from the 60s too. It wasn't out of the ordinary to hear Bob Dylan play a Johnny Cash song, or Johnny Cash sing a Bob Dylan song, or Janis Joplin do a Hendrix song, or Hendrix do a Janis Joplin song. They all seem to like enjoy each other's music. That's real musicians, folks. That's real musicianship. When you can appreciate an artist to the point where you say, I'm going to jam on that. Let's jam on that song. Despite his relatively short career, Hendrix's influence on music is immeasurable. His death in 1970 from asphyxiation due to barbiturate intoxication shocked the world. Hendrix's passing has been the subject of much speculation, with some suggesting foul play, but it is generally accepted that his death was accidental. That's what's generally accepted. You know what I'm saying? I don't accept it at all. I think his death was the devil coming calling. You know what I'm saying? Like, folks, that's the thing about the devil. He's going to do exactly what he said he's going to do. If you make a deal with him, he's going to come through on his bargain, and he may add a little bit of juice to it. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys and say, oh, well, he's a flim-flam man. No, he's not a flim-flam man. He's going to do exactly what he said he's going to do. And he's not going to come early to collect that debt. He's not going to come early. He's going to come exactly when he said he's going to come. And trust and believe, he's going to come and he's going to want that payback. He's going to want exactly what you promised. And if you try to run, he's going to put them hellhounds on your heels. And if you listen to that song, Hellhound on My Heels, and you know, it's one of those things where the record, you get that constant white noise in the back, but you can hear in that man's voice, like he was scared. He sincerely had them hellhounds on his heels, in my humble opinion. So, I mean, the man inspired tons of folks. Here's one that she's like sweet peas to me. I didn't like her when I was younger, but I crave her when I got older, and that's Janis Joplin. There was something about her voice as a younger man I couldn't stand, but then again, when I was a younger man, I was listening to Slayer and Megadeth. It's hard to follow Symphony of Destruction to a 17-year-old D-Dawes. Janis Joplin was a powerhouse vocalist whose raw, emotional performances made her one of the most prominent figures of the counterculture movement in the 1960s. The counterculture movement being one of the big things that brought all this weird Satanism that we're dealing with today to the forefront. Counterculture. The culture they were going up against was the counterculture of these kids from the Bible Belt. These are Midwestern kids. I believe Janis Joplin's from Texas, at Port Arthur, Texas, as a matter of fact. Joplin's voice was a unique blend of blues, rock, and soul, and she was known for her unbridled passion on stage. Songs like Piece of My Heart, Cry Baby, and Me and Bobby McGee became anthems of a generation. Joplin's struggle with substance abuse was well documented, and her battle with addiction ultimately led to her death from heroin overdose in 1970. Like Hendrix, Joplin's death occurred at the height of her career, leaving fans and critics to wonder what more could she have accomplished had she have lived. Of course, 27 years old. Jim Morrison. Now, Jim Morrison was kind of a scumbag, folks. I mean, don't get me wrong. Thank you, Katie Seal. I just saw that. Sister Katie for the win. Paganini. Thank you so much. Paganini was the devil's violinist. And Katie Seal's a musician too, folks. I don't mean to tell tales out of school. She's a phenomenal musician, professional musician. And she needs a wrench too. With somebody who has a wrench, I believe y'all can click on next to Katie and see if you can give her a wrench. If not, let me know. Jim Morrison was the enigmatic frontman of The Doors, a band that became synonymous with the dark, poetic side of rock music in the 1960s. Born in Melbourne, Florida, Morrison was known for his deep voice, brooding lyrics, and unpredictable stage presence. The Doors' music, which blended rock, blues, and psychedelia, produced hits like Light My Fire, Riders on the Storm, and The End. Folks, The End is it's the sound of depression. Kurt Cobain. Kurt Cobain was another one. I didn't appreciate Nirvana until I was in my 30s. Like, think about it, folks. Look at the Seattle music scene. You got Alice in Chains. All right, Alice in Chains. Soundgarden. The Stooges. There's so many better musicians. There's so many better musicians than you got animals sneaking around here while I'm talking about this spooky shit. You got so many good musicians that came from Seattle. It was unreal. And then you have Nirvana, and I mean, if you ever listen to their song Polly, And you know what that song's about? It was highly offensive to me in high school. I mean, I didn't dig it. There was nothing. People can miss me with that. Oh well, it's their artistic flair and blah blah blah. No, when you're singing about laying harm to children, that ain't cool with me. But he got his reward, didn't he? Kurt Cobain, and he came from a Christian home too. Again, military father. I wonder why all that is, and not just a military father, folks. These men and this woman, their dads were officers in the military. Very strange to me. And around the 60s too. Could be some of that MK Ultra stuff involved with it as well. You know, just like I do, MK Ultra was as satanic as the day is long. Kurt Cobain was the lead singer, guitarist, and primary songwriter for Nirvana, and the band that brought grunge music to the mainstream in the early 1990s. Born in Aberdeen, Washington, Cobain's introspective and often bleak lyrics resonated with the generation disillusioned by the excesses of the 1980s. I want to hit pause on this cat for a minute. Flair is another word to make the ugly acceptable. Flair? Okay. Anyways, Stevie Ray Vaughan also died early in a helicopter crash. He did. To keep in tradition, GRP, Truth in Christ, CM, welcome CM. I haven't seen you in the chat before, I don't think. Welcome to the Bigfoot Dogman Research Project is what it was formerly called. The BDRP Supernatural. Handsome guy, this next guy. I have an affinity for him. It's a person who's very close to myself, and that's the BDRP Supernatural Mr. DDoS. Great guy. The Red Pill Preacher, my brother from another mother. The lovely Katie Sill, my sister from another mother. Steve Garza, Christine 1921 Murphy, who's been very active on the channel lately and is much appreciated. Sarah from 74. Annie's Vincent. Backroad 41. Lisa Costa. And if I miss you, I'm sincerely sorry. It wasn't on purpose. I listened to groups like Yes. Yes was pretty cool. Christine, people don't know from good music anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like every now and again, you'll hear a good song. Let me tell you something. What's that big fat British dude's name? And I'm a big boy myself. I'm not trying to body shame nobody either. YouTube. But he's straight up. He's sold out. He's too old for the 27 Club. But dadgummit. He did that song Unholy recently, which is unholy. That song has so many spells attached to it, it's unreal. But it has that old school mid 90s kind of R&B beat to it. You know what I'm saying? So when it first came on, I was kind of jamming to it until the lyrics came in, and then that feeling comes over you. The Blues Travelers, man, you're bringing it back. Sam Keith, is that his name? Sam Keith? That sounds about right. Maybe. I don't know. I don't think it's Sam Keith. Sam something maybe? Damn. Why did I even say that? It's going to bother me now until I figure it out. So how about this? And seeing as how I'm speaking to you on the internet, how about I use the internet to give me the answer? Sam Smith. That jabroni. Let me tell you something. This is my biggest problem with Sam Smith outside of him being a straight Luciferian. Radiohead did not only one, but 2 songs for the James Bond film Spectre. Both songs were more than appropriate. One of them was named Spectre, and I mean, it flows with the intro of the movie. They rejected 2 Radiohead songs, the greatest band on planet Earth right now. They rejected 2 Radiohead songs for his nonsense. That's my biggest problem with that, and him being, of course, a Satan worshiper. But let's get back on track with this. Amy Winehouse. Very, very sad. Amy Winehouse was a British singer-songwriter known for her deep, soulful voice. Let me tell you something. When I heard Amy Winehouse for the first time, I thought she was a sister. Straight up. I thought I was listening to a sister on the radio. I was like, who the hell is this? Good, deep, soulful voice. Like one of those old, one of those old soul sisters from the 70s. You know what I'm saying? Just had that. She had a lot of character in her voice. Amy Winehouse was a British singer-songwriter known for her deep, soulful voice and her blend of jazz, blues, and R&B. Born in London, Winehouse's breakthrough album, Back to Black, was both a critical and commercial success, earning her multiple Grammy Awards. Hits like Rehab and Back to Black and You Know I'm No Good showcase her distinctive voice and candid lyrics about love, heartbreak, and addiction. Winehouse's personal life was marred by substance abuse, legal troubles, and tumultuous relationships, all of which were highly publicized by the media. Despite her immense talent, her struggles ultimately led to her death from alcohol poisoning in 2011. You know how, you got to be drinking heavy duty, folks, to die from alcohol poisoning. This poor girl. Winehouse's legacy is one of both incredible musical achievement and tragic waste, as her life and career were cut far too short. Now, we seen on the show the other day, or what was that, yesterday, that rank devil who had at his home 3 months after this woman was laid to rest, a cake that looked like her, that looked like a zombie version of Amy Winehouse. And that's what these people think are cute. Life means nothing to them, folks. And it's just not musicians. John Michael Basquiat, 1960 to 1988. He's a pioneer in, it's for you art fans. I'm an art fan, but you know who that guy is. I don't want to get into it. Anton Yelchin was one. Anton Yelchin's Range Rover came into gear when he was checking his mail and crushed him in between this Range Rover and his house. Tragic death. And his career was just now, he was just now starting to take off. Sam was born a woman. What? Sister Annie, are you kidding me? Are you being serious? Sam Smith was born a woman. I can believe it, but I never heard that before. It makes a lot of sense because he's got them registers that, like, what do they call it? Castrato or something like that. Back in the Catholic Church, the castrated boys, they would call them castratos because they could hit an octave that no one else could. That's why Michael Jackson was chemically castrated by his father, so he could hit those octaves. That's another part of their weird esoteric nonsense. I believe it, Sister Annie. Brian Jones. You remember him? He's a founding member of the Rolling Stones. Died at 27. Drug overdose. Of course, we hit Robert Johnson. Ron Pigpen McKernan. McKernan, known as Pigpen, was a founding member of the Grateful Dead and served as the band's original frontman. Guess how old he was when he died? Mia Zapata. And this is for you. I was a fan of punk back in the day too. I'm giving y'all a little bit of a deep cut into DDoS in his youth. But she was lead singer of the Gits. Of course, she was from Seattle. Richie Edwards, part of the Manic Street Preachers. Pete Ham, singer-songwriter from Britain. And that, I want to do a deep dive on Ham. Ham, I think Ham was involved with the Beatles, and the Beatles did some I'll get into that later. That's a whole thing. Kristen Pfaff. Kristen Pfaff was the bassist for the alternative rock band Hole. You know who the lead singer of Hole is? Let's see your musical knowledge. Who's the lead singer of the band Hole? Who knows? And then, there's rappers that were a part of it. Not a lot. But what's curious to me is when I was doing my research, the rappers I could find, that's exactly right, CM, Courtney Love, wife of Kurt Cobain. And the bass player died a few years after Kurt, but look at it this way. For all you music fans, you know what I'm about to say, and you know where I'm going with this. Foo Fighters and Hole. Foo Fighters had just started up. It was like a little side project of Grohl's. And Hole was, they were okay. They had some hits. But after that, the musicianship of both, the songs of both changed. They took on more of that Nirvana kind of darkness, and they actually sounded better. This is what old Uncle D thinks. You can disagree if you want to. I think Courtney Love and Dave Grohl conspired against that man and blew his brains out. And I think that the police were in on it. The police found handwriting. There's a word for it. Come on, Dion. What's it called? They found scraps of paper where Courtney Love drew ABC A through Z and was trying to get his handwriting down perfectly so she could write that note. And she did get it down perfectly. She knew that she couldn't just trace over some stuff. Dave Grohl and Courtney Love fell in with another musician who's a rank Satanist. Now, let's see if you know who this musician is. This is my theory. They fell in with this musician who was the biggest musician of that period. But he was on his way out. He was falling out of favor, you see. The torch had then been passed to Kurt Cobain. Kurt Cobain didn't like the fact that he was wearing Dickies and flannel shirts, and now they're walking down runways in London mimicking his style. He's from Washington. That's just what they wore because it was cold. You know what I'm saying? But he didn't like that kind of stuff. And I believe that Courtney Love and Dave Grohl fell in with the big Satanists of their time in the music industry, and they were like, hey, let me tell you something. Come here. Kurt ain't gonna make it. All right? Kurt's on some weird shit. You understand what it takes to make it. You and Dave over there. Dave the drummer. Dave's got a business mind. And Dave is a businessman, and he has a business mindset. Look who else is is friends with Dave Grohl. Jack Black. He might as well come out with a cape with Satan's face on it and a red shirt with S and Satan right next to it. The man's a ranked Satanist, folks. I'm definitely sorry to say that. Me and a friend of mine named Sam used to go to coffee shops and do Tenacious D songs until I found out he was a ranked devil. But I believe that this musician got his claws into Kurt Cobain, into Courtney Love and Dave Grohl and said, hey, look, Kurt ain't going to make it. He ain't got what it takes. You two got what it takes. So this is what's going to happen. You're going to lay him on the altar, and you two are going to shoot for it. I'm going to put all my steam behind you. But it takes a sacrifice. And that's when it happened. Both their stars take off. Foo Fighters, I think it was the next year or the year after, had the #1 album in America. Hole, the very next year, had the #1 album in America. Hole, who's as far as those Seattle bands goes, is meh. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they were playing, I wouldn't change the song, but I wasn't going out and buying their albums. So I believe that they were brought in. I believe Kurt Cobain was brought in, but I don't believe he wanted to play ball because he came from a Christian family. I think he probably seen some stuff, and when his daughter was born, he was like, you know what? I thought I was down with this, but I'm not. And they said, no, you're down. You're down with it. That ain't how it works, son. And Dave Grohl and Courtney Love knew how to play ball. Courtney Love, what was that? The very next year, started filming that movie with Woody Harrelson about the dude who created Hustler and was sleeping with the president's wife, with Jimmy Carter's wife. Allah. I'm drawing blanks tonight, folks. I'm sorry, I ain't got enough caffeine. Son of a biscuit. Not Hugh Hefner. I mean, his magazines were raunchy, folks. Playboy had some taste to it. You know what I mean? And you get those like wealthy. Oh, I read them for the articles. Dad gummit. The creator of Hustler magazine. Somebody help me out. I know I got some guys in there that are my age in their 40s. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Flint, Larry Flint. And he's venturing in for the save again. The women they got points on y'all. I mean, we had one sister helping me out earlier. Now Annie's coming in there for the assist. Larry Flint. But anyways, I'm digressing with all this stuff. Kurt Cobain was a sacrifice. If you look at the way that he was killed, hold on. Let's jump in there. Let's see how much. I got a little bit of time. Let's just kind of jump in there and look at this thing. So he allegedly shot himself with a shotgun. Here's an article from last month or the month before. Are you kidding me? Folks, I am off my music name game tonight. See him? It's crazy. I'm just closing my eyes and drawing blanks. I apologize for that. It's embarrassing. Do you know it's been 30 years since that man committed suicide? 30 years. Shit, fire, I'm getting old. So here we go. That was kind of depressing to see. You know what I mean? 30 years ago. I remember watching it on MTV. Like, it was a sad thing. Nirvana frontman Kurt Cobain died 30 years ago, but his legacy lives on. Kurt Cobain, Nirvana frontman and music icon, died. Now they're saying he died. The man was murdered. Died April 5th of 1994. You know what I got to do now? Check that old satanic calendar. Not seeing anything for April 5th, but like, what came before? What was the last one? The spring equinox. Then you have the Good Friday. Human sacrifice. More evidence to my point. Yeah, okay, CM's got some juice. He or she knows what's going on with this thing. Yeah, Love brought the shotgun out to his fans who stayed in front of their house. The cops let her keep the gun. That's exactly right. The cops had to be in on it. CM, am I right? There was that, and there was a lot that took place. The way that they handled the crime scene, there was a lot wrong with that whole thing. Drop a one, as a matter of fact, if you would like me to do a deep dive into the death of Kurt Cobain, because I've got my own little hints, my own little the DDoS detective firm going, because I think I've solved it. And I mean, it's not that hard to solve. Anybody who was a fan of music knew what. There was musicians that said that they believed that Courtney Love killed them in that time period. So here we go. With Nirvana, Cobain released only 3 albums during his lifetime over a 5-year span, including the RIAA Diamond Certified Nevermind, making him the face of counterculture. Let me tell you something, folks. For a drummer, if you ever want to jam out, because we'd always play a handful of songs so we could kind of get each other's rhythm, kind of get in the groove with one another. One of them was the Beatles song Helter Skelter. One of them was Nevermind. And there was another Nirvana song that was almost like a punk song. We play it super duper fast. Metallica's Battery and Queens of the Stone Age, No One Knows. Those were the 5 songs that we always kind of played to kind of get in the rhythm with one another. I'm sorry, CM. I didn't know if you're a female or not. I didn't want to be, I'm trying to be PC, even though that's super duper hard for me. You're smart. You're welcome here. I like having smart. I'm not, let me shut up before I put myself in a jam. I'm glad that we have smart women here that have the Spirit of God. Because, sister, Are You Mine? That's a badass song. That's by the Arctic Monkeys, though. Yeah, you know some stuff about some stuff. Anywho, I think Queen of the Stone Age found the Arctic Monkeys. She's triggering my ADHD. I'm sorry. Let's see. This article probably has nothing of consequence unless they are telling the truth about the matter. Look at her, bro. She looks evil. Can y'all see that picture right there? Let me go back over here. She's smiling like the Joker. But anyways, that poor baby. You know what I mean? That baby was just born, and like that's as satanic as it gets. She took that child's father away from her for some fame, for some money and recognition. You know what I'm saying? Don't tell anybody, CM, but I like to sing Arctic Monkey songs while I'm in the car. But anyways, what else do we? I think that's all I had for y'all. That concludes Illuminati All Day and this episode of The Late Show. Unless anybody has any questions or comments or complaints. If you have some complaints, I really ain't trying to hear it, but I will. And I appreciate it. Y'all been making this a lot of fun for me lately. And I'll tell you the truth about it. I've done this for the better part of 10 years. It's had its ups and downs. But here in the past, like, just a couple of months, this is you guys have made this, like, fun again. And I sincerely appreciate everybody who's listening now and everybody who'll listen afterwards. Yeah, while driving over the Red River. Huh. Anyways, coming one foot off the merry-go-round with that. We need an egg update. You'll get your egg update tomorrow. Do I Want to Know is another phenomenal song. Keep naming them. I'm gonna wind up singing y'all one. If this feeling flows both ways. Anyways, y'all are fantastic. Again, I sincerely appreciate each and every last one of you guys. You made this thing fun for me again, and from the bottom, I appreciate it. And guess what? I'm gonna go back to Bigfoot investigations because they're really, really close, and I might as well, right? I think they're going to be investigating me pretty soon if I don't investigate them. So I tell you what, we'll get our egg update tomorrow, Keith. You like those, don't you? I do too. Next week, I get the chickens. Super excited about that. I'm going to take you through the whole process from the purchase to implementing them into the chicken house, to the rearing of them, to the first batch of eggs, to frying those eggs and consuming them. You're going to go on the journey with me, Keith. Anyways, God bless each and every last one of you guys. Hit like on this video, share it with your friends across your social media platforms, click the bell, and I'm sincerely sorry. There are people that are being unsubscribed for whatever reason. And it's infuriating. You guys know what's up. My boy, the Red Pill Preacher, and I come on here and we give him that uncut dope. We give it to him, no sugar, no cream. They slit my boy's throat from the inside out. Zing! Extravaganza. I think it should be an excellent show. Keith, we're a couple of old cornballs. You know that, right? Where am I going? I'm getting off. Getting off of here. But where am I going to investigate? That's a great question. The Red River, of course. I don't know. There's a lot of different places. I want to go to the Ozarks. And I want to go to Ohio. I want to start branching out into these different areas. I want to go to the LBL. I want to go to. We were talking about music. White River. Yeah. I mean, what you want to talk? Y'all want to talk about music? Drop a one if you want to hear me talk about some more music for like 10 minutes. That'll put us an hour and 5 minutes. I can do that. Ask me a question about some of the bands I played with or something if you want, or some of the music I like. Get to know your DDoS. GRP Truth in Christ says, "Hey D, after Metallica released Master of Puppets in 1986, do you think Cliff Burton was a sacrifice?" There's a question, bro. I don't think he was, man. Says, nah, I'm sick of music now. Nah, like I don't think he was. I think that was sincerely just like one of these tragic things. I did like this see him at first. I'll tell you what. Which one of you guys can name the Christian song that Metallica put out? Chris Cornell. All right, you want to jump into that? I got some stuff for you on that. Mike, what's up? Iron Mike. Yes, CM jump. I may have to bring her on as a guest host or something. Stick the words out of my mouth. Lincoln Park, the dude from Lincoln Park. Where'd Red Pill go? Since I can't remember names for some reason. Chester Bennington, I believe his name was. Chester Bennington and Chris Cornell were killed close to the same time. Oh, it's a cat. Chester Bennington and Chris Cornell were killed relatively close to the same time. Now, this is the thing that I believe, and I think if you look at them side by side, John Podesta was the father of Chester Bennington, which implies that he had harm probably laid to him when he was young. Chris Cornell and Chester Bennington had got together with the director, and they were going to start exposing a lot of this stuff. Chester Bennington, Chris Cornell, and the director of a movie called Rust that was shot by Alec Baldwin. You remember when that happened? She was going to be the director of this documentary that Chris Cornell and Chester Bennington were putting their money up to produce and star in, where they were going to expose a lot of this stuff. Before you know it, Chester's dead, Chris Cornell's dead, and I guess she got the message and she kind of, she clammed up. But look at Alec Baldwin. Throughout the past 10 to 15 years, they're making him do all these humiliation rituals. All of a sudden, and I remember watching on the news the reenactment of it. That man, when she yelled action, that man had the gun, right? Pointed at the actor, turned his whole body, pointed it directly at her, and pulled the trigger. He assassinated that woman. And she just happened to be the one that was going to direct and help produce this expose on John Podesta and Hillary Clinton and all those cats. Kind of crazy. Yeah, Chester, he was going to reveal something. He was going to reveal, in my humble opinion, he was going to reveal that John Podesta was his daddy and that all the stuff that he was being accused of was real. And they couldn't have that because that's attached to old Hilarion. So, who's Satan's wife? No, Chester Bennington? No, there is no coincidence. You're absolutely right. If Chester Bennington had I'm getting cold chills even talking about this stuff. Because it all just kind of clicked for me one day. I saw this video where they showed Chester Bennington and John Podesta right next to each other. And they have features that can only be passed from father to son. All right. Put that over here to the side. And Chris Cornell found the Lord, y'all. If you ever listen to Audio Slave, I mean, they were phenomenal. I don't care what anybody says. You got the best of Rage Against the Machine and the best of Soundgarden. Chris Cornell is one of my favorite singers of all times. His voice is beautiful. Beautiful. So you got the funk and the rock of Rage Against the Machine with the beautiful harmonics of Soundgarden. No, what's his name's wife? The guy who shot her. Oh, Alec Baldwin's wife's a Satanist? What? See? Satanists of a feather flock together. So, I mean, that and Alec Baldwin somewhere, I don't know what he did, but somewhere along the line, I think he fell out of favor. So, you got Chris Cornell and Bennington. They die under mysterious circumstances, right? Both men Christians, from what I understand. Bennington, I'm not sure about, but I knew I'll definitely check her out because that sounds weird. Super duper weird. As a matter of fact, let me put it up here now so I won't forget. Alec Baldwin's wife's a Satanist. Shit fire. We got another junior detective over here. Alec Baldwin's Rank Devil Wife. You know another one, and I hate to say it because I want to like the dude, Elon Musk. Yeah, suicide's ass. These people, listen. What's his name? Chris Cornell had just done another solo project. Like I think within that year, Chester Bennington. I mean, he was a young man. Like these people aren't just going to off themselves. I'll tell you another one that I think they got a hold of and sent the way of all flesh, and that's Prince. Prince was a very, very intelligent person, and he came from a family of Pentecostals, I believe. They sang that song. Hungry mentioned farming babies. What? Who did? And Blood on the Table. Dave Filoni of Star Wars was a self-professed witch for his girlfriend or wife. Dave Filoni. Who's that jabroni? Dave Filoni. Alec Baldwin's wife. Kim Basinger? Basinger or whatever? No, it has to be this Hilaria Baldwin. They're married in 2012. She looks evil. God, she looks... Check this woman out right here and tell me, am I crazy? And you tell me, CM, if this is the one you're talking about. Hilaria Baldwin. It's too close to Hilarion for me. That is her? So Annie, Vincent, Chris, and Chester are about to tell on their asses, huh? Oh, that's a that song "I'm Going Hungry." I don't mind stealing bread from the mouths of decadence. That was on Temple of the Dog. He sang that song originally with the lead singer of Pearl Jam. Hunger Strike is the name of that song. That's an awesome song. It's an awesome album. It was Chris Cornell, Eddie Vedder's stupid ass was on there. I believe my boy, who ended up outliving a lot of them, but I thought he would die before any of them. The lead singer of Alice in Chains, who again, the curse of the 15th on a Thursday for DDoS. I forget all these guys' names. I know them all. The lead singer of Alice in Chains, Lane Staley. Lane Staley was on that album too. That album was phenomenal. That was one of those ones I could just put in and just go for the rest. Put in when I wake up in the morning and listen to all day. There's a video of her sitting behind Alec in court. She's using her fingers to tell him to turn around. It was sexy, but it was very telling. What? Hold on. Where's my... I got a notebook somewhere. Because you've got me... This is just too much. All right. So, we're going to be looking into Alec's wife. I kind of want to check out this Cornell thing again. Cornell and Bennington. Courtney Love. Love and Grohl. Can you feel that? Like, I'm telling you, all of it's connected. It's all connected. And I think it's specifically connected. Sam, you talk a lot of shit. I like it. Anyways, Prince was a Jehovah's Witness. Cat Williams was also one when he was young. I didn't know that. So him and Bennington sang that Hunger Strike song, huh? That's interesting. Alice Cooper has talked about how his past Alice was a spirit that took him over, but he got saved and Jesus set him free. Praise God. Now he just plays golf. Well, bro, if a spirit named Alice took me over and I was some rich rock singer, I think I would just play golf too. That's I've never heard that before though. Annie's Vincent, was it as badass as it sounds? I'm telling you, Audio Slave, think about it. They turned out, what was it, like 3 albums in 3 years. I mean, they were cooking with gas. I think they fell apart, and then Rage Against the Machine got back together. Zach De La Rocha from Rage Against the Machine, he was drinking his own Kool-Aid. He believes he is some sort of what do you call it? A revolutionary or something. He's out of his mind. It was beautiful. Now, yeah, I'm going to listen to that before I go to bed. That's one of my favorite songs off that album. Probably my favorite song off that album. Every last one of them's cool, though. Alice Cooper was also an early band and influence for psychedelic rock and heavy metal, as well as shock rock. I don't know about psychedelic rock, but I wouldn't even say heavy metal. Nah, maybe. I don't know. He's a sellout, like the song from Tool. What is that song? Before you point your finger, you should know that I'm the man. Yeah. I was never a big Alice Cooper fan. And coming out there in mascara and just looking like an old Sting. 46. 46 and 2? Yep. If I'm the man, then you're the man, then she's the man as well. I can't say what I want to. Man, what's his name was a very, very angry man when he was younger. Maynard James Keenan. Beautiful voice, though. I mean, he's up there with Chris Cornell for one of my favorite rock singers. So, that was an extra fun 5 minutes. What's going on, A&B Automotive Detail? Anyways, thank you guys very, very much. Maynard and Nan. That's exactly right. Trent, what am I talking about? Trent Reznor, 9 Inch Nails, even today is my favorite band. Trent Reznor is a musical genius. I'm sorry, he's a musical genius. A little bit of a rank devil. Musical genius all the same. The man's won, I don't know how many Grammys for them doing the original soundtracks and stuff. Dave Mustaine's a Christian too, bro. I didn't say thank you, CM, but I do appreciate it. I appreciate you coming in. Stop by some other time. I got a feeling I know you, though. But I love each and every last one of you guys. This was a fun show. Y'all gave me a lot to think about. You gave me a lot to research. And that's always a good thing because I learn with you guys. So we're going to be I'm definitely going to be looking up Alec Baldwin's wife. Did I show you that picture for all who don't know? Check this out. And tell me this woman don't look crazier than shit. Look at her. I mean, she looks like she's getting ready to cut somebody in half with a samurai sword. I do appreciate it, CM. You did contribute to the show, and I am very grateful. God bless you. For the rest of you guys, and CM, she can come back too. God bless each and every last one of you guys. Again, hit the like, subscribe, share the video, click the bell, make a contribution if you can. If not, I sincerely appreciate you contributing your time. That's most important. And we'll see you tomorrow night or tomorrow morning. We may see you again tonight. Who knows? That's the first thing I'm going to do is find that clip of her at court. What were they at court for? For some Alec Baldwin? Oh, yeah, when Alec Baldwin, he did go to court for that stuff. He actually went to jail. How in the hell is he not in jail for murder? He murked that woman straight up. Learn this and more on the next episode of The Late Show.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Ladies and gentlemen, I gladly interrupt this broadcast to tell you that the Red Pill Preacher and the Baron and whoever this other joker who's going to be on here tonight are completely, as the Baron would say, lost in the sauce. First of all, they're going to try to tell you that these timeless cartoons, wonderful cartoons. I remember when I was a young man growing up in the 80s, I watched all these cartoons that they're going to talk about, folks. And they were not Gnostic or satanic at all. And they're gonna feed you a belly full of lies. And I usurped the broadcast before it started, so I could tell you the truth, because you deserve to know the truth. Now I'm going to give you a quick rundown on probably the ones they're going to talk about. G.I. Joe. That's what they used to call me. G.I. Joe. Remember G.I. Joe? That Lady J and Starscream and Hawkeye. And a bunch of other ones. And then there was a black guy who was Luke the Refrigerator Perry, I think his name was. Rick the Refrigerator Perry. He was a football player. And then there was Sergeant Slaughter from the WWF. Boy, you couldn't beat G.I. Joe back in the day. And then you have the Ghostbusters. Now, the Ghostbusters was some weird shit. That show had more demons than my old house where I grew up. That's what they were. And they even called them demons. After a while, they stopped playing around and just said, hey, these demons are doing such and such. So they may be right. If they bring up the Ghostbusters, they're talking about some real stuff. It was demonic. It was a demonic show. And let's see. They're probably going to say the Care Bears were demonic. You see, this is how starved these people are. And DDoS, the Baron, so-called Baron, he sees demons that are around every corner. Everything's a demon to him. He probably pours a glass of milk early in the morning or drinks his coffee and say, oh, I don't want to use that creamer. It was made by demons. And then you have the Red Pill Preacher. He has to open up everybody's eyes. Everything's some sort of a big flim-flam that's being pulled on the American people. Not everything is a flim-flam, folks. These are great American cartoons. Now, Gargamel had this cat whose name, in whatever language, I think it's French or something, means Lucifer. That's real shit. That's one they have. If they bring that up, then they're bringing up some real stuff. And I'll be chiming in whenever I please, because they can't stop me. Folks, the people are afraid of me. I'm Machine Gun Joe. I remember a time where it was me and Corn Pop, and you had Johnny Ringo from that show Tombstone. We had formed a new gang, and I remember Wyatt Earp was in this bar, and I didn't like Wyatt Earp. I called him a pimp to his face. I said, "You're nothing but a bunch of pimps," and I told him, "Law don't go around here, law dog." And, I'll tell you about the rest of that later. This is unfiltered, folks, and y'all don't enjoy this show. What am I saying? Enjoy. Enjoy when I chime in. That's what you enjoy.
Shit fire. Sleepy Joe don't know what the hell he's talking about. They didn't even have TVs when he was born. They were throwing rocks at each other and playing jacks. Shit like that. Chasing wheels down the whole hill or something. That old boy, he's so crazy he don't know what to do with himself. Well, I tell you, my favorite cartoon was Captain Planet. Because they got the old Mama Guy on there. Remember Captain Planet's mama was a guy on Mother Earth? Now, that's some witchcraft, esoteric, Gnostic, New Age bullshit. Old Gaia, that's the kind of stuff Hillary likes. But I ain't trying to get her on my case. But nevertheless, his mama was Gaia, and Whoopi Goldberg, she was, me and her had a fling. Don't tell Hillary nothing about it. Me and her had a fling back in 93. But Whoopi Goldberg played the voice of Captain Planet's mama. And I don't know who drew her, but they did a damn good job. That's a cartoon I watched back in the day. And it was kind of lame in a way, but it was cool in a way too. Everybody had the badass power. That black dude from Africa, he could make the ground. He could open up, just like it said in the Bible, he can open up the ground and swallow you up. Then that one girl, it puts you in a whirlwind. But the only one, the Mexican boy, he was pointless. He had earth, wind, fire, heart. That's what his was. I guess he made Captain Planet's heartbeat or something, because, that's the only use you'd have for having him around. That Irish kid, but the firing, he'd breathe fire on your ass like a dragon. He could smoke somebody's game. Every last one of them could, if you think about it, except that boy, that Mexican boy. He had the heart ring. They must have felt sorry for him. He must have been special needs. But anyways, you don't listen to Joe. Joe was watching Steamboat Willie. Shit. He don't know what the hell he talking about. I used to watch cartoons in the 80s. He said, I'm pretty sure he was a little boy in the 80s, too. That's how crazy he is. I switched over to Republican. Like I told y'all, Hillary's the one doing all that weird shit, going over to Bohemian Grove and Epstein Island and shit. And then they want to talk all that stuff on